Hi, I'm Mike Marino, and this is a brand new episode of Live from My Mother's Basement. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. Today, we're pre-recording, or actually just recording, in my studio in Los Angeles, California. There's the great sign. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to everybody who's watching right now a guy who I've been trying to get on the show for quite some time. We keep missing each other in the air, but all the way from New Jersey, live here in California, this is the legendary Scotty Schwartz.
Thank you, Michael.
What's up, buddy?
You're a funny guy.
Shake my hand. Folks, I can actually do this story, but I want him to do the story. He's going to tell us the story of his life, who he is, and how you all know him, love him, want to pinch his cheeks. It's one of those things. But we're going to go back to when I first met Scotty. I probably was 16. I'm older than you. I remember.
No, I was 15.
15?
Mm-hmm. And you're about 4 or 5 years older than me.
Right.
So you got to be 20-ish.
Okay. We used to take a bus. It's the 114 New Jersey Transit.
Oh, yeah.
I would leave Scotch Plains, New Jersey to go into New York, and you were coming from Bridgewater?
Somerville.
Somerville. This bus would cut through all these towns, taking people into the city, and then on the way back, coming out of the city. So you would see all these suburbanites getting on and off this bus to go into the city to work. Sometimes really early in the morning, sometimes late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes us actors would leave at 12 in the afternoon and go into the city for an audition. However, I remember so clearly one day you were sitting very close to the driver. Listen to this. You might not even remember this. It's funny how we all have different memories. You were sitting in the front seat very close to the driver, and you had your jacket on. The jacket that said School for the Performing Arts.
Oh, Professional Children's School, yes.
Yes. And I remember going, that's Scotty Schwartz. He's on the bus. And I think a few times I didn't say anything. Then eventually I said, I have to introduce myself to this guy. He's a legend. And that's, watch hitting the table. That's how I remember meeting you. Then eventually we were always on the bus going in and out of the city for whatever the reasons were.
I was going to school in New York, so I was there. I caught the bus 6:15 at the Somerset Hotel on Main Street. And then 7, 8, 10 stops on the way into the Port Authority in New York.
I actually said this on an Instagram story yesterday, that he was one of the students of what was, I don't know if it still is, probably the most famous acting school on the planet, because they also made the TV series Fame about that school.
There's performing arts, and then there's Professional Children's School. Professional Children's School did not teach acting. It was for actors, singers, dancers, musicians who were in show business as kids. And their curriculum was based around the book. Whatever was in the book was fine. So if you had to go out and shoot a movie, a commercial, theater, your Broadway, off-Broadway, on the road, they could give you your books, give you your tests. You do it with a teacher on the set. You send it in, you get your grade. So you could be on the road for 6 months and never be at school, but you had all of your work and they would send it back and forth and so forth.
It's unbelievable. I don't think I've ever met anybody else that went to that particular school.
But you know people who went to the school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been around 100 years. So in my particular, the years I was there, it was Christian Slater, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Anthony Michael Hall, Ricky Lake, Jennifer Blanc-Bean, myself, Jonathan Silverman, Glenn Scarpelli from One Day at a Time. These are all kids that were in and out. There were kids that literally spent 3 days in the school, and then you didn't see them for 4 months because they were working. They're someplace else. We had a blast. I mean, we had a fun crowd.
That is amazing. You think about all the up-and-coming talent he saw in this particular school, and they were so young, probably not even realizing what the business is yet to become, because you're working in it, you're having fun, and then you're thinking, this is going to be like this the rest of our lives.
Well, yeah. I mean, the school went from like third grade all the way up through high school. Um, Savion Glover, who was he was one of the tap dance kids. He studied under Gregory Hines. I believe he created the show Rent and some of the other shows on Broadway. I mean, he was there in third grade, you know. So I mean, there's one picture of one of the classes, and then next to it is a like a closet, and he's standing on top of the closet. He was so small,
Oh wow.
you know, top one of the
Is that
shelves.
school still in force?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The prices have gone up, but yeah, it's there. You know, I mean,
Wow.
we were. I was just talking about this the other day. One of other classmates was Trini Alvarado, is her name. She was in The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox. She was in Little Women with Winona Ryder and Claire Danes, and her daughter was playing on yours. I just saw her the other night, and we were talking about this. That when we went there, my junior year, it was like $6,600 a year to go to school there, and now it's like $67,000
Wow.
to go there. The prices
Wow.
have gone up.
That's insane.
You know.
And we hope the kids are actually making that kind of money. That's a lot of money. But when you first started going to that school, was it because you were yet to go and get work as an actor, or you were working as an actor and your family said you need to go to this school?
In my case, I had done The Toy during my 8th grade year, and then over the summer, whatever. And then I did 2 movies. I did Kidco, and then I did A Christmas Story. Same calendar year, freshman year in high school. And the principal covered for me the first year, my freshman year, because you couldn't miss class that much. And at that time, they didn't really have a definition of a reasonable excuse, a false excuse, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So I ended up having to leave the school if I wanted to stay in show business and do movies. She's like, listen, you can't, because the superintendent will hold you back. They will hold you back next year. Even if you do the work, you're on sets, it doesn't matter. So I ended up then going to PCS, Professional Children's School, for 2 years. And my sophomore, junior year, and senior year, I'm like, you know what? I'm graduating with my friends from home. I wanted to.
Okay, so you went to a regular school.
Oh yeah, public
Then
school.
you went to the school in New York,
Yeah.
and then went back to public school.
Yeah, my freshman year, I was at Bridgewater Raritan High School West, and then sophomore, junior year, went to New York, and then senior year came back and graduated from Bridgewater.
So then your senior year in high school must have been unbelievable, because everybody's like, wait a minute, you're on television. You're in the movies.
Well, yeah,
He's a movie star.
Freshman year, I was there, and I was already in the movies because The Toy had, been there, and I had done The Toy. It was split. It was like 70-30. 70% of the kids knew what I was doing. They were cool with it, whatever. And then you had 30% that, jealousy and why him and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I had my bully, and I had all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But thank
Oh,
goodness I knew the guys
shit.
on the wrestling team and the football team. 'Cause
Yes.
they kind of took care of me.
This is amazing. Okay, so let's go back now. The Toy is a major movie, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably one of the all-time greatest movies ever done. If you haven't seen it, you got to go see this movie. It's called The Toy. I wonder if they can even get away with making that type of a movie now because of the content, but it's adorable and it's fun and you can't stop laughing, and there's legendary people in it. How did you get this? How old were you? How did it all start? And then you could tell everybody the famous people that are in it that you actually became friends with for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I started in 77. I was doing commercials, and then I did off-Broadway, and I did Broadway, and I kept doing commercials. And I started going out for a few films, and, you don't get everything, of course. And I started going on auditions for The Toy, and then I screen tested in New York on video. They flew me out to California. And, there's several things of why I got it. For those who haven't seen it, I was playing an absolutely brat kid who had a monstrously rich father who puts the kid in military school. He's only home 1 or 2 weeks out of the year. So he sends him to a store to buy anything he wants. And one of the things that I saw in the store was this very funny black guy, African-American, whatever you prefer. His name was Richard Pryor. And he was very funny, and I said, you know what, I know what I want. And they're like, oh, he wants this. I'm like, no, the black man. They're like, well, he wants that in black. I said, no, the black man. So I make the joke that I'm the only one you're probably ever going to see, meet, or hear about who actually bought a black man. Yeah, that was me, because it was Richard Pryor. So that's the basis for the film. But well, I'll go back to the audition process. They flew me out for the screen test, and one of the biggest reasons that I got the toy was because of the movie Airplane. Okay.
Why, you're in Airplane?
Nope. The toy is my first movie, but they had told me Richard Pryor was going to be there, and of course he couldn't make it. Divorce number 5, whatever. So they're like, "Well, you're going to work with another black actor." I said, "Okay, whatever, you know." And the guy comes up, and we started chit chatting. We took a little walk to get some camaraderie, and I said, "You look familiar." And he's like, "Oh, well, I did this Love Boat. No, that wasn't. I did this. No, that was." He said, "Well, I did a movie. It might be a little advanced for you. It was a comedy. It's called Airplane." Well, the minute he said it, I knew exactly who he was. He was the thin jive guy in Airplane, of the two black jive guys.
Right.
So his name is Norman Gibbs. I love him.
Oh,
God
okay,
bless him.
yeah.
Okay. So I immediately started doing the jive talk, and I started riffing with him. But layman to the bones, check me out, tight me. And so then I just kept going and whatever. So he took me back to the trailer. He went inside and told Richard Donner and Ray Stark, the producer of the film, "I don't know where you got him, but if you want a kid that's going to play with Richard Pryor, that's your guy." Because I was like this already.
Oh, wow.
So they went, okay. So in my audition, they had built a staircase like the one it's in the film, this big round spiral staircase that comes down. And I did the audition with the dialogue a couple times, and then the next thing you know, Richard Donner goes, "I forget that. Do it in jive." So we just started riffing, coming down the staircase a couple times. And
Right.
they loved that. And then it was tell a joke.
How old were you at this time?
13.
13 years old. 13.
Well, you don't tell a 13-year-old to tell a joke, because the only joke I knew was dirty jokes.
Yeah. Pull my finger.
No, it was worse than that. So the first joke I told, I won't do any of the other ones, but this one's quick so I can do it. I say, "What is the difference between a rooster and a hooker?" A rooster says cock-a-doodle-doo, and a hooker says any cock'll-do.
Oh, my God.
That's the first joke.
It's a kid.
My father's there. My agent was there. My father really didn't care, but the agent's like, "Oh, my God, I'm going to kill him. What is he doing?" Not realizing or understanding that they needed a kid that could do this stuff with Richard. And since I didn't have the language barrier of, foul language, if he drops an F-bomb, what are we going to do?
Right.
I didn't care.
Right.
So we get to talking afterwards. Richard Donner pulled me aside, and he says, "Listen, what do you know about Richard Pryor?" "Well, Silver Streak, Bingo Long, Stir Crazy, he's got concert movies. Have you ever watched those?" "Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course I watched those." My father didn't care about language. It was what it was. "Okay, what do you know about Mr. Gleason?" Well, now you really opened up the can of worms, because I love The Hustler, I love The Honeymooners, but Smokey and the Bandit is my favorite of all time.
We're talking about Jackie Gleason, everybody.
Jackie Gleason, who played my father in the film. So I start doing Sheriff Buford T. Justice to Richard Donner. And he's like, "Okay." Long story short, I get the movie. So we shot down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I go down there. And we finish the wardrobe fittings and all that, and then you're going to sit down for the meet and greet. Now, anybody wants to know a little bit of trivia, Mr. Gleason was friends with the Hilton family. So anywhere in the world that he went, he stayed in the presidential suite at the Hilton.
Oh,
Whatever
no
Hilton
good.
it was, he stayed there.
Oh,
He
man.
had a sheik thrown out of the penthouse in Vegas because he said, "I'm here. That's my room. Get him out." So that's true. So we're sitting at the table. We hadn't even said hello yet. And I'm sitting a couple people away from Mr. Gleason. And Richard Donner goes, "Scotty, go over and do that sheriff thing for Mr. Gleason." So I walked over to him, and he was still taller than me. I'm standing up. He was sitting down, I was 4'5" maybe. And I looked at him, and I go, "There's no way that you could come from my loins. Soon as we get home, first thing I'm going to do is punch your mama in the mouth." He starts laughing. He goes, Well, that's not bad, kid. What else you got? He figured they rehearsed this with me. Well, that was his mistake because they hadn't. I
Right.
knew the entire movie. I know. So he's like, "What else you got?" Well, that was it. I did 8 minutes of Gleason as Buford T. Justice with the. I did all. Well, there's an old saying: you have somebody in the palm of your hand. I had him in the palm of my hand and didn't know it. He hated working with kids and animals. They told me that. Be careful around Mr. Gleason. Always be very respectful. Listen, okay, fine. You know. But I had him. And one of the greatest experiences anybody could ever have.
Just listening to it. Folks, in the movie The Toy, and Scotty is one of the cutest little brats you've ever seen in your entire life.
Kind of, I guess.
He's working with the legendary Jackie Gleason. There's a woman in the movie who plays Jackie Gleason's wife. I think one of the funniest things is she says, "What do you want me to do? Taking the Six Flags?" Something like that.
That's it.
I don't even remember how it goes. And I remember the scene where he does go into the toy store and he sees Richard Pryor playing with the Wonder Wheel. And this big blow up thing deflates and he's going, "No, Wonder Wheel, please, please, no Wonder Wheel, no Wonder Wheel." And everybody's saying, "Who is that? Who is this guy?" And then you're like to one of the executives, "I want him."
Ned Beatty.
No, we don't do that. No, I want him. And they start putting money in his hand. They put money
Well,
in
yeah,
Richard
after
Pryor's hand.
after I tell him
and he goes like
the thing
this.
about the
This is a
black-
little light. It's a little light.
Oh,
He put
Richard,
money-
absolutely.
They put money in his hand and put him in, and he goes home.
They bribe him. They bribe him to be my play toy.
They bribe a cleaning man, basically,
Yeah.
in the store to go home with him to be his toy because his parents are so filthy rich they can buy anything and anybody, so they buy it. And then the story moves forward with everybody's life not being all that great until the kid basically learns a lesson.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the content of the film is not necessarily that I buy Richard Pryor. It's the fact that he's somebody from another place. He didn't grow up as we grew up, you know, none of that kind of stuff. He's poor, we're rich, all of that. But he teaches a father and a son how to love each other and how to become friends and feel something for each other. You know, and that it's a learning lesson. You know, I mean, I say that The Toy and A Christmas Story is the same movie
It is.
because it's about a father-son relationship
Loving, passion,
and the
good old days.
The cog that's used in The Toy is Richard Pryor to get these two people together, and of course in Christmas Story it's Ralphie and his father, and it's the BB gun. That's what's used. So I mean, it's not all what's happening now with today with wokeism and all these different things that are happening. It's not that. If you think about it, I've spoken to people who have come over to me. How could you do that kind of movie? What are you talking about? You know,
It's a
and you
very-
explain to them, and they get it.
Very endearing movie.
Yeah.
And coming towards the end of the movie, you see one of the saddest little scenes when you go over to, it was his name Jack?
Yeah.
His name was Jack. And you say, "Please, Jack," and you started crying. And I'm like, holy crap, look at this. And he kind of was like pushing you away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing, of course, closes with joy and happiness. So how did you actually do that scene? Because it's so tear-jerking when you started crying. Oh, and here's something else that I find in that little scene. The way you were breathing. You know, when young kids cry and they lose their breath, you're actually losing your breath. I'm like, this motherfucker is one hell of an actor.
We are our own worst critic. I was okay. I'm not Henry Thomas.
You were
say
a kid.
You say cry to Henry Thomas at 9, 10 years old. Bang. Tears are coming down. By far,
Please, Jack.
the best dramatic actor of the last 40 years as a kid was Henry Thomas. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't even come close to that. I just did what I was supposed to do, you know. And now, of course, that particular scene, this is all shot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, dead of summer. It's almost 100 degrees. With the humidity, it's like 110. And I'm wearing a wool military uniform, of
Yes.
which I have long johns and I have a T-shirt underneath it because it was itchy because of the wool.
Yeah.
You know, it's handmade. It's not made in a factory. and I'm schwitzing and sweating like a pig, okay? And it was just blazing. They had put Sea Breeze, which is a skin cleanser and coolant. They would have buckets of this stuff, and they would put either not napkins or tissues, a hand towel into it to freeze it, and put it inside our costumes behind our neck, so it would drip down our backs,
Keep you
and
cool.
cool us off. Yeah,
Why did they have to pick that area to shoot? Why not?
it was the location where it was.
Really?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was a great location. You know, people down there were great. I made some lifelong friends with the people that were down there. Still talk to them. And
Yeah.
they're great people. Yeah, but it was great.
So you're done with this movie. The movie comes out. It's a big hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your relationship with these megastars. Talk about that. Jackie Gleason. I mean, I would give anything to meet Jackie Gleason, much less do a movie with him. And of course, Richard Pryor, one of the most incredible stand-up comedians of any time.
Yeah. Oh, he's Mount Rushmore. I say Mount Rushmore. That's
Mount
just-
Rushmore.
He's a Mount Rushmore comedy. There is no doubt. There's no question. You know.
So, on set, friends, everybody's nice, happy. You stayed in touch for a long time. You told me a little bit about your relationship
yeah.
with Richard.
Yeah. No. Of course, back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. Mr. Gleason, I never got a home number on him, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But Richard, I had his house number in California on Parthenia. I had the house number in Maui. I had the office number at Indigo. I had all of his numbers. Sold the house on Parthenia. Moved from one house to another in Maui and closed up Indigo. So I didn't have a phone number for a little while on Richard. But when I came out to California in '87, I basically went to, I didn't know where he went. So I went to the Improv, I went to the Laugh Factory, I went to the Comedy Store, and I put an APB out on Richard. I said, if he walks in, somebody's got to call me. And it took a couple months, and he was at the Comedy Store, and they called, and I went. And he was there, and he's inside. He's at the top. If anybody's ever been there, the room to the right is the original room, and you go up, a couple stairs, and then you go into the room there.
Yeah.
Well, he was standing right behind the box, the cashier's box, on the left-hand side. And I saw him. The guy goes like this because he knew I was coming. He just points, And I walked around, and there was a comedian on stage, and he finished up, and Richard's clapping or whatever, and I just kind of nudged him, and I'm like, hey, don't let anybody in here.
Right.
And he looks at me and he goes, oh my God. That was it. He gives me a hug and a kiss.
Were you old enough to be in there?
Not
At that
really.
time? No?
No, I wasn't 21. I was 19.
Yeah.
But I wasn't drinking. I just wanted to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Isn't
Nobody's
that
gonna
great?
bother me. Yeah. I never went home that night. We went to Mel's Diner. We got something. My car was parked in the Comedy Store lot. We went to Mel's Diner, which is right on Sunset. Then we went to his house. And then we bullshitted until 3 o'clock in the morning. We took a nap and got up at 9. And then we had a cup of coffee. And he drove me back to my car.
So you had an ongoing relationship with Richard Pryor from that movie forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were telling me you would actually call him just about regular teenage troubles. Dating, school.
Well, more dating than anything
I
else.
know, but I said it in a nice way. Teenage troubles.
Richard was the best teacher you ever could have had for anything adult related, whether it be drugs, women, booze, you name it, he was on it. He said to me when we were shooting, you're always going to have a lot of questions in life. Ask me. Whatever you want to know, I've been there. I've done that. Don't worry about it. Just call me.
Good guy.
Yeah.
And the same with Jackie Gleason?
Different. Gleason and I talked about old Hollywood. We talked about The Hustler, and we talked about The Honeymooners and all that kind of stuff. But I was a film buff, so I loved old cinema. So, one of my favorite films since I was a kid was Yankee Doodle Dandy, which is James Cagney Academy Award, the dancing, the singing, whatever. But he plays this character. His name is George M. Cohan, who, if anybody goes to Midtown Manhattan, where the theaters are at about 48th Street, there is a statue of George M. Cohan because he was the king of Broadway from the early teens until the late 20s, on Broadway. But I knew Gleason grew up in Brooklyn. So I knew they kind of had some things in common. I went, you know what? Let me ask. So one day we were just sitting, and I said, at that point I called him Dad and Pop, which was endearing to him. I was not being disrespectful. I'm the only one that could do it. I'm playing his kid. And I said, did you ever hang out with George M. Cohan? And he just kind of looked at me. I remember I'm 14 years old. He said, "How do you know Georgie?" That's what Yankee Doodle Dandy. I explained. He says, "Yeah, we used to shoot pool in Brooklyn, and then we go over to Queens, and then we go for a hot dog in Coney Island." And oh my God, it was just like, holy shit.
The questions you could have talking to a guy like Jackie Gleason.
I mean, we talked about
I
Smokey
would
the
lose my
Bandit.
mind. Yeah.
We talked about, anything Hollywood related. It was never, because being a kid, you don't ask the adult kind of questions like, how many wives have you had? No, you
Right.
don't. You don't do those kind of questions because that's just not what's in your realm. That's not what you do. But if I knew then what I know now, it's like I would have bought 20 of his albums and had him sign them for me because he was an incredible musician, a composer, an arranger, and all that kind of stuff.
How old was Jackie Gleason when he passed?
79, I believe.
Yeah.
He dies
And-
in 87.
And Richard?
No, he was young. He was 65.
Wow.
He's gone December 10th, 05. Gleason's like June, I want to say 27th.
Well, after you had finished doing this legendary movie, The Toy, which hits the theaters, what was the next project?
Actually, I did a film for 20th Century Fox called Kidco, Kidco. And I did that before The Toy even had come out yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was home a couple months, and then I booked Kidco.
You filmed Kidco after The Toy, but
Yep.
The Toy didn't come out yet. Okay.
Right. We actually wrapped Kidco on the day The Toy opened in the movie theaters, December 10th. Which,
Oh, wow.
because I'm an egotistical bastard, and I was a lunatic, really. I booked Kidco, which was Ron Maxwell was our director, who did Gettysburg, Gods and Generals, Nights the Lights Went Out in Georgia. He had done a lot of other projects. The producers were Frankie Blondes and David Niven Jr. They had 70 years of experience between them. Again,
That's a name that I've heard many times. Yablons.
Frankie Blondes.
Yeah.
Yes. God rest his soul.
Wow.
So we have we have standard thing is you come down, you finalize your wardrobe, then you have a read through on a movie set. And the end of the read through, I said, "Can I talk to you guys for a minute? I'm 14 years old. I've done one movie. Okay." And
a big movie, though.
Yes, but our schedule was supposed to run until December 21st or 22nd. Right before Christmas, we were supposed to wrap the film. And so all the cast members leave. Everybody else leaves except for the main players. It's the director and the two producers and the first AD, my dad and me. And they're like, "What's up?" And I said, "Listen, we got to finish this movie early. We got to be out of here December 10th. The Toy opens. I have to be available for publicity." And, Columbia was telling me all kinds of things and whatever. And can you curse on this thing?
Yes.
Okay. So Frankie Blondes looks at me and he goes, "Get the fuck out." And he just pointed out the door, and there was the arcade was across the hallway, the pinball machines and whatever in the hotel. And I went, "Oh, okay." So I got up. My father got up. He goes, "No, not you. Just Scotty. Scotty, get the fuck out." So he throws me out of the room, and they're like, "Listen, movies don't get made faster. They get made slower. That's just the process. If there's going to be a problem with your kid, tell us now. We'll replace him, and we'll move on." And here, again, my dad's trying to tell them, "No, you don't understand. My kid's Secretariat. He's Godzilla. Get on his back. He will ride you to the finish line." Well, after I guess they said a few other things, whatever, they called me back in the room. So they sit me down. I'm 14 years old, and they look at me. I've done one movie, and they go, "Okay, what do you want to do first?" I said, "Well, I got to look." They're basically calling the bluff. They don't have no idea of my mindset or what I can do and what I've done and whatever. So I said, "Well, listen, I looked at the shooting schedule. Why are we shooting in the barn over here and over here? I'll do it this way, Let's combine them. We're shooting at the courtroom here, but the courtroom there. No. We put them together. We get it. Okay." That was pretty much what they said. They got up, and it ended up being me and the first AD, and we worked until 12:30 at night. I had to be up 6:30 in the morning for a pickup, and off to work we went. And I mean, I'm bringing it every day like this.
Nothing like the boss on stage.
Listen,
All right.
Ron Maxwell, he was fantastic because he saw whatever I had in me. He saw it and he let me run with it. You know, he's got his.
We're going to be eating meatball
He's
sandwiches.
gonna eat meatball.
Well, I'm going to.
That's okay. Don't
The
worry
reason
about
why
it.
I'm
It's not
doing
being
this is because
impolite.
we're both from New Jersey.
That's what
and
we
we're
do.
in California doing this.
Yeah.
We're going to make fun of a meatball sandwich in California.
I mean,
Maybe not this one.
a true
I
New
have to-
Yorker
I have
would have
to
gone
bite
and
it.
find hot dog and kraut, but he found meatballs. It's okay, whatever, and a knish. But I'll tell the story while he's eating. So, needless to say, over the course of the next weeks, after we're shooting 10 days, we're 2.5 days ahead. Then we're shooting 2 weeks, and I'm 4 days. I mean, this is what we were doing. I was bringing it every day. The guy who played my dad, Charlie Hallahan, God rest his soul, phenomenal guy, helped me. Longest story short, believe it or not, we come to wrap day on Friday, December 10th. We wrapped 2 weeks early, or 10 days early, whatever it was. So at the thank you for coming and whatever, we're going to have the wrap party tomorrow. They said we have one more thing. 6:30, everybody be in front of the hotel. We're going to do the beginning of the wrap party. The barbecue is tomorrow, but the beginning of the wrap party is today. So we had all the vans, everybody gets in the vans. They bought 4 rows at a movie theater locally, so we all could watch opening night of The Toy.
That must have made you feel like a king.
It was pretty cool. It's not, you don't feel like a king, you're just like, oh my God, this is really cool, because you get to see it with all of the people you've just been working with for
Yes.
the last X number of weeks. But we had a blast, you know, and I'm going to say, he may not see this, I don't know, Ron Maxwell, who I love dearly and have not seen since wrapping of the film.
Really?
Have not seen him.
Why not?
Found him on Facebook. He's in Virginia. I am going to go visit him some point, middle to the end of next month.
How old is he?
Oh, dear Lord. He's got to be late 70s. You know, he has to be, I would think.
Another project you guys all need to watch, Kidco. Now I know you can find the toy on the internet. Would Kidco
Yeah,
pop up?
you can find Kidco. It was a Fox movie, and now Disney bought Fox, so it's now Disney. It could be on Disney Plus. It could be somewhere else, but they also sell it on DVD. You know, if anybody still has a DVD player, I do, but not everybody.
And then all of a sudden, here comes the Megillah.
Well,
I'm going to say that. Oh, go ahead.
Well, the Megillah is the fact that I got home early from finishing Kidco. On Sunday, I got home, and on Wednesday, Bob Clark called to bring me in on this movie called The Christmas Story.
A Christmas
5 days
Story.
later. He went to the theater. He saw the toy. He wanted to see me. Okay. So people ask, what is the audition process? You know, there's a lot of readings, a lot of this. Well, there's all kinds of different mixtures. You know, most people read dialogue and you do scenes, and that's how they audition you. Well, Bob Clark knew for the role that he wanted me for that I really didn't have a lot of dialogue. He just wanted to meet me and see if I was a regular kid. We're on 50th between 7th and 8th on Broad in New York City, on 50th Street. We talked for about 5 minutes. Oops, sorry, spam risk. He says to me, "I missed lunch. You want to go have a hot dog?" Sure. We go downstairs. We go on the corner of Broadway and 50th. We have a hot dog. We talk for a few minutes. We come back. Okay. He says, "It's so nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in. You want me to read anything?" "No, you're good. Nice to meet you." Okay. Walked up 7 blocks. My agent's office, 57th Street. I walked in. My agent goes, "What'd you do?" "Well, we talked. We had a hot dog. We talked for another minute. I left." She goes, "Well, you did it right. You got the movie. He just called already."
Oh, no kid.
I booked the movie from having a hot dog with Bob Clark.
Right.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, eat something while you're talking to people. That's why I'm having a meatball sandwich.
That's right.
You never know. And then begins the filming of probably the biggest Christmas movie worldwide. And you told me you went on the set thinking you were playing Ralphie.
Yeah, when I got there, they had sent me the script and never told me what role I was playing. So it's like, what role am I playing? You know? So I figured it was Ralphie because I had done the lead in The Toy. I had done the lead in Kidco. I memorized all of Ralphie. So I get there, and Bob's all happy. Everybody, okay, so, you know, he goes down the line of all the guys, and he gets, you know, Peter, you're Ralphie. Zach, you're going to play Skip Farkas. Yano Grover Del Scott, you're playing Flick, this and that. I'm like, huh? So in front of me is my script, a couple of Post-it notes, and my father was sitting behind me. And I'm like, Flick? I lick my fingers. I start going through the script. I had 17 lines of dialogue, actually, that they had scripted in the film. And I'm there 5 weeks. I wrote down 17 lines, 5 weeks equals vacation. And that's what I wrote down. I handed it to my dad, and he goes, whatever. So afterwards, I go over and I talk to Bob. I'm like, you sure about this, Bob? You know? Oh, no. You're Flick. You're going to be great. And it's not the size of the role, but what you make out of it.
Right.
Go figure.
Because although in A Christmas Story there's a lot of iconic scenes, memorable scenes, everybody repeats certain specific lines, and then it became, of course, memorabilia. But one of the first, I think, one of the most classic scenes is, of course, when you get your tongue stuck to the pole and the whole double dog dare.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows that scene. Even if you didn't watch the whole movie, everybody knows this scene.
It's on commercials and Christmas cards and all kinds of things. It just took on a life of its own, so to speak.
Tell us how that whole scene became a part of the iconic institution of the movie.
Yeah, I just think it happens because people react to it, because you see this poor kid and he's stuck out there and, you know, he's freaking out and he's doing all the things that I did, that I came up with. You know, Bob really didn't give me any direction. He was kind of like, I said, Bob, what do you want me to do here? You know, there's no dialogue for this. It just says Flick sticks tongue to pole. That's what it says. And he's like, just do whatever comes natural. If I hate it, I'll tell you. Okay. And I came up with the stuck, and don't leave me, come back, and I mean all that stuff. That was all me. I just came up with it on the spot.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
because it's one of the most. It's so great the way you go. Ah!
Oh, yeah.
He starts screaming, and all the kids, the bell rang, and he's like, "The bell rang, and don't leave me here."
What are we gonna do?
And they all run inside. Then they're looking at him from the window, and he's
There were a lot of the older generation who was young back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, who did that stuff, not necessarily to a flagpole. It was either a flagpole, a train track,
a swinging gate,
the swings. Remember the big swings that everybody had?
The jungle gym.
They were all metal.
You couldn't wait to say to your friend,
Yeah.
"Guy, put your tongue on it, put your tongue on it," or your lips, and to get it off was just horrible.
You either had to rip the hell out of your
You
skin
rip
or
off
hot
your
water.
tongue, or some kind
Or
of
hot
water
water.
somewhere.
Hot
and
water. That's what it was, hot water.
It would really pull you apart. And
I tell people, don't try it. If you want to have a little bit of fun doing it, put a spoon in your freezer. Leave it there for 15, 20 minutes, whatever. It'll freeze, okay? Make sure you have a glass of hot water with you, a big glass, not like a little 6-inch. No, a big glass of hot water. Take the spoon, put it on the end of your tongue. It will instantly freeze. You are stuck. Lean over the sink, pour the hot water. It will get it off. Do it the safe way. I've met several people who have done it, you know. But in the movie, it is a plastic pole. There is a hole in the pole. They painted the outside to make it look like a metal pole. But they put a hole in it with a suction tube that went into like a Dirt Devil mini vacuum cleaner motor. So it was basically just like a vacuum cleaner. So if you think holding the hose of the vacuum cleaner, it's putting your hand there. Same concept, but with a tongue. But it was tiny.
So
It was
unbelievable.
the size of your pinky nail. It was nothing. Yeah. But it worked.
So when the movie came out back then,
Mm-hmm.
did everybody realize, or no, this is going to be the biggest movie of all time, and it's going to be a cult
Nope.
thing? It's going to air every Christmas, and this is what everybody's going to hold on to, and then there's going to be mass amounts of memorabilia.
No, none of these things happened. See, it was such a small movie that MGM didn't even want to put it out. They were not even going to release it in the theaters. And Bob Clark got a hold of Darren McGavin. They started getting independent finance people the money together to buy the film from MGM. And finally, he just bugged the shit out of him so much that he's like, okay, fine, we'll put the movie out, you know. They put it out in 400 theaters. It did great. It went up to 800 theaters. The third week, it was like 1,200 theaters. And then all the holiday movies came in. Rambo, 2 or 3, what I think, whatever it was,
Right.
there, and we were gone. Now it sits in VHS hell from basically the end of '83 until the middle of '96.
Right.
And this wonderful man, I hope to meet him before anything happens. Ted Turner, he was buying the MGM library, and he needed 2 movies. And from what I gathered from the story that I got from somebody there, his assistant said, "Hey, have you ever seen A Christmas Story?" He said, "What's that?" So she brought in her VHS tape, and Jane Fonda and Ted Turner watched Christmas Story in the office. I said, "Oh, this is a lovely little film. Yeah, okay." So he gets the film, paid $250,000 for it. Nothing, because they just bought it as part of the library package.
Right.
And he asked her, well, I got it now. And she's like, well, why don't we do a marathon? If we play it this year, we'll get most of our money back. If it goes to next year, we'll make a profit on it. Doesn't matter, And this was something I guess worked for him for decades. Okay. So they tried the marathon, and it did good. And the second year, the ratings went up. And the third year, the ratings went up. And all of a sudden, it became, oh my God. Then it was a cash cow, and now here we are at 26, 27 years later. And the marathon is monstrous between TBS, TNT, both channels now, 24 hours. Merchandise didn't start until I think it's like '03 or '04 is when the merchandise starts.
If you folks see this movie and then you see the merchandise, you can get anywhere from him this big with his tongue stuck to the pole. You can get pictures of everybody and anybody, close-ups of the little characters and features, and then the actual lamp. I think you could buy one of the guns, right?
Oh, you could buy a Daisy Red Ryder.
Daisy Red Ryder. Anything that came out of that movie, you could find either in stores or when they have their.
You go online. I mean, we do our appearances and stuff like that. We'll talk about that before we wrap up. But, there was a Monopoly board. We did the Monopoly. They did the Monopoly game. The action figures, the lunchbox, the leg lamps, the stockings,
all of this stuff, and you can get it.
All the ornaments from Department 56 that they have. It just became, a monstrous, as they say, cash cow and moneymaker for Warner Brothers. And, people have gone toward this film. They like the film because it's a multi-generational film. Parents like it, kids like it, grandma and grandpa like it, aunts, uncles like it. So it's like you've got this tier of age groups that all just find this movie to be wonderful. The older people go, oh my God, I remember that. I remember Little Orphan Annie on the radio. They remember that kind of stuff. And some stuck their tongue to poles, whatever it was. But then you got the young kids that are waiting for Santa Claus to show up with the Christmas presents, which is, it's a Christmas movie.
It's an unbelievable gift, and then could even be a curse, because when it's over, now you got to go looking for another job as an actor. But recently, there was a sequel.
Yeah.
Talk about that?
Sure. It was early last year, and I got a phone call about doing A Christmas Story Christmas. They didn't give me the role. I still had to audition. Believe it or not.
You have to audition to play yourself.
In my particular case, like Scott.
Did all the other guys have to too as well?
Everybody except, from what I understand, Ralphie is Ralphie, Peter's Peter.
Right.
But like Zach Ward, who played Scott Farkas the bully, he's done so much work over the years that they had seen. He did, Titus on Fox and Transformers, Resident Evil, and Freddy vs. Jason. So they knew he could still bring it and what he looked like. I haven't done any big films in a long time, so they wanted me to audition. The director said, I did 2 scenes. The director said to me, I listened to your slate where you say your name and what role you're going to audition for. And he goes, I listened to about 15 seconds of your reading. He goes, I heard your voice, I saw your face, your facial expressions. I went, okay. And that was pretty much it. I could have done that on Zoom, but it's okay, it's fine.
So the movie was shot, filmed, canned, now what?
Yep. I shot 7 weeks out in Sofia, Bulgaria.
That's cool.
Oh boy. I was there 2 weeks and war broke out. So it was a little nerve-wracking for a little bit, but it's fine. There were things that we sort of wanted included in the film, and there was some infighting and things, behind the scenes that people don't get to know. But we didn't just phone it in. we wanted it to be a good film, and it did come out pretty damn good in my
Was
opinion.
it fun to be around the gang?
It was great to be around all the guys. We were at a little boutique motel, so there's only 4 rooms on each floor, you know. So like RD, who played Schwartz the first couple of weeks, he's like right across the hall from me. So it's like we get up in the morning and breakfast, we know around 9 o'clock, and they were still doing the delivery because of COVID. So he had his door open, I had my door, we're just kind of we're kind of sticking our heads and going, are you coming to my room? Am I coming to your room? I mean, But we would go out to dinner, we go out to lunch, we go to the mall, we go to the movies, whatever. What you get to hang out and different questions. Of course, I've talked to the guys, and I'm still friends with all of them for all the years. But you get to talk about life and different things.
Yeah, sure.
And,
where did you go? What do you do?
Yeah,
Who got married? Who's divorced?
Well, I know all that.
Yeah.
There's a few marriages, there's a few divorces, me included. But it was a fun time to go out and go to dinners with all the guys.
They go into a high school reunion.
Almost. That
Only
lasted
a
weeks.
film reunion. That is just fantastic. And of course, you're out there doing the what do they call it when you go and sit and sign autographs? A junket?
Meet and greets.
A meet and greet?
You do meet and greets, or you do.
What's the difference between a junket and a meet and greet?
Junket's press. That's
Press.
media. Whereas meet and greets are normally you go like to one of the shows that I do is Chiller Theater in Parsippany, New Jersey. It's every April and October, and the cast will be there this year, including Peter, his first and only true East Coast appearance. But you go and you hang out and you schmooze and you sign autographs and take pictures and photo ops, and I have Daisy Red Ryder special 40th anniversary BB guns that I'm making up, the leg lamps, the lunch boxes, whatever people bring, posters, this, that. It is what it is,
Well, it's just a fantastic story. His
It's
life
a gift that keeps on giving.
of coming up from one of the most prestigious acting schools in New York City to riding the bus from New York to New Jersey.
This guy.
Just making your way into some of the biggest movies of all time, working with legendary people, unfortunately no longer with us. Would be so great to get their point of view on this and ask Jackie Gleason, so what was he really like?
Oh no, they would have told you. I was a snotty brat, but I wasn't really a snotty brat. I was a fun kid. I like to tell jokes and have fun.
Yeah.
So for me, being with them, this was easy. We're not trying to make the 10 Commandments. We're not trying to remake Casablanca. It's a film, The Toy. It's fun. It's comedy. You do Christmas Story. It's fun. You do Kidco. It's not a true comedy in the sense you're going to laugh your behinds off, but it's a nice kid movie that you can enjoy and have fun with. It's a brother and 3 sisters who start a manure company. They turn poopy into fertilizer and sell it to people, whatever. I got the chance to do some great stuff with some great people.
And there's more opportunities to come. Tell everybody what's going on in your world right now, where they could find you on the internet. I mean, I asked you the other day, you said you're not on Instagram. You got to be on all these.
I am,
you
but
gotta.
I just don't do that. It's just not my shtick. I mean, I have an Instagram. I think it's Scott, aka The Real Flick. I think that's mine, or it's one of either Instagram or Twitter. It's one of those. I'm on Facebook, Scott Schwartz Actor. I'm on that one. You can find us this upcoming year, October 27th, 28th, 29th, I believe it is, last weekend in October at the Chiller Theater show in Parsippany, New Jersey. It's the 40th anniversary reunion. It's chillertheater.com, and you can see the guest list. After that, we're going to be in Cleveland, Ohio for the Ralphie Comes Home weekend, and that is the Cleveland Film, oh my goodness.
Festival?
I want to say that the
Cleveland Film Festival.
Cleveland Film. Look it up. Just look under Cleveland Film, The Christmas Story.
Look up Scotty Schwartz.
But it's the biggest.
He's busy.
It's the biggest reunion of all of us. There's going to be between 10 and 12 cast members. You can also go to ChristmasStoryFamily.com. It's on that site. Will be all those dates it's November 9th, 10th, 11th that weekend. And then we have Steel City in Pittsburgh, which is the second weekend in December, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, at Steel City Comic Con in Pittsburgh. So, At least 5 members of the cast will be at Pittsburgh and New Jersey. The one in Cleveland, that's the Ralphie Comes Home. That's the special one. The Cleveland Film Commission, that's what it is. But I think it's clevelandfilm.org. I'm not
Just
sure.
go to Cleveland. Well,
Just
listen.
go to Cleveland, but it's going to be an incredible thing. We've got just some great plans there. And Peter will be there. And again, like I said, got a special 40th anniversary Red Ryder that we're making up. So
We're going to have
40
you
on
back
it.
on the show, because then there's what happened next. But we got to get going. And I want to thank you so much for finally hanging around. We'll do this again. We'll go over to my house in New Jersey. We'll have hot dogs next time.
I'll go to Scotch Plains.
And yeah. But I want to thank you so much for coming on live from my mother's basement. This is the legendary Scottish Schwartz.
And
Check
next
out
year,
these projects.
Probably be on stage with him at some point.
Yes,
he's
he
trying
wants,
to drag me.
got to get
in.
him back into stand-up. That's a whole nother can of worms and a whole nother episode. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you,
My
buddy.
brother,
Thank you.
you got it.
Two actors from New Jersey hanging out
How you
here
doing?
in Los Angeles, California. Remember, folks, let's make America Italian again. Show them your shirt. Marino 2024. Make
gave it to
America
me, I gotta
Italian
wear it.
again. You remember, you don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. And how do I end every single one of my podcasts? By always saying the same thing with my guest. Don't take no shit from nobody. You ready?
And ain't nothing you can do about it.
Well, he's got his own, but we're gonna say, don't take no shit from nobody. You ready? Don't take no shit from nobody.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, folks, I hope you're enjoying watching my podcast live from my mother's basement. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a lot of great guests on the show in the future. So if you like it, hit like. You could also leave a comment. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch other funny videos. And you could also listen to my podcast on your favorite podcast app like Spotify and iTunes.